thrown anybody under the bus? Because you said you were on 17 of them and they only caught you for 7.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
Well,
besides, I don't want to say that.
It's changed over time. Moreover, here would be a great question. I think this is the one that you're asking me. How are guys getting away with it now?
Yeah.
And right when USADA stepped in, I mean, we had champions who, the day USADA steps in, they have never won another fight. Multiple champions that had never won another fight. You got the incredible shrinking man. USADA steps in. All 205-pounders are now 185-pounders. It was very obvious. I'm just sharing with you that now it's coming back, and you're starting to see it. And I was very curious, and I called some guys that were experts and masters in cheating. Just, God, I got to know. How are they doing it? And one guy told me, he said, well, the rumor is, and he said, but I don't believe it. He said, the rumor is that they're microdosing, where they just take this little tiny bit and they just take it every day, and it either doesn't show up on the test because it's so small, or its threshold, you're within the limits. And he said, but I don't personally believe that. This is what everybody's telling me. And we can take one look and know who's cheating and who's not. To try to get those guys to talk or try to explain it, I mean, it's a very competitive. It's a real competitive edge. If you told one guy, even if it was your best friend, you tell one guy, then he tells a guy and tells it, and all of a sudden you don't have that advantage anymore. But there is a number of ways to get away with it. Where I'm more concerned is kind of like you're saying with the Russians, which is I don't believe that they knew that they were cheating. I don't believe that the athletes knew they were doing something like that. And there is examples where trainers or coaches can get it into their athletes, without the athletes, sure, through their drinks you've heard of, through their foods you've heard of, but they can also do it with topical creams and things like this. And I mean, we've got 2 gyms in this sport where every one of them, not most of them, not 90%, 100% of their guys from both of those gyms are in gross violation, but they get away with it. And I always wonder, okay, do they have real good secrets, or is somebody at a different level administering this? And I don't know the answer to that. And that would be speculative, and that would be very, very dirty, what I'm suggesting right now.
But wouldn't they get caught?
You would think.
If they were...
You would think, but look at the Russians, didn't. Until they did.
Yeah.
Man.
That's wild.
Yeah. And that's a big one that I just set out there. I'll just share for you. There are 2 gyms. It's 100% of the time. You look at it and go, my God. You look at all the cornermen. The cornermen are juiced out of their mind. You go, okay, you guys all, you're just really good at keeping your mouth shut? Because most fighters aren't. You could telephone, telegraph, or tell a fighter, the word's going to get out. These guys can either keep a secret or they don't know that it's happening, which is possible. It is possible.
I think secrets are pretty hard to keep, though.
Yeah.
This happened with a Turkish wrestler in 2012. And the guy made the Olympic team, and he denied that he was cheating when USADA caught him, just like everybody does. But there was something different about his denial.
Not everybody.
People go, yeah, that's right. But where the guy goes, there's something different. I believe him, that he doesn't know. So they tested the food, and they tested the drink, and they finally looked into it, and he had a trainer. And the trainer used to massage him at the end of the night. Oh, your shoulder. And it was on his hand, and he would put it in through a substance called DMSO. And DMSO is topical. It used to be for veterinarian use only, but it'll take anything on this and it'll bring it inside right into your veins. So we would have the testosterone, and he'd have the EPO, and he'd have it mixed with the EPO. Oh, let me rub your shoulder out. Oh, and every day he would do that, and he juiced this athlete. He took him from number 5 in the country to number 1 in the world. But they caught him. They got hit. They pulled his Olympic berth. They found out the trainer did it. They let him go to the Olympics after all. Just sharing with you that as wild and crazy of a story as it is for me to even suggest that somebody could be dosing an entire team, like, yes, 100%, it's possible. Yeah. Wow. And has happened.
I mean, back in your day, you probably fought a lot of people on juice.
Yes, definitely.
And, fuck.
Yeah.
It does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was part of it. I mean, that was very easy to beat back then because you knew when the test was going to be. It wasn't a drug test. It was an IQ test at that point. But, now with what they do with USADA, now it's much tougher. They can come often.
But Bellator does not have USADA. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And your last fight was in Bellator against Tito Ortiz.
I fought Machida was my last fight. Yeah, okay. I fought with Tito.
Right, in Bellator.
Yeah, but my last one was, and it feels like yesterday, but it was years. 2019 with Machida.
Okay, yeah, my mistake. Now, at the time when you went over to Bellator, you were in the UFC, still had fights remaining on your contract, and somehow pulled off what seemingly nobody else has. You got out of your UFC contract and into Bellator.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, and so it wasn't overly complex. I've gotten a lot of credit for that, and I was even able to announce for both. And people were like, "Oh my God, Chael's got it figured out." But there was no secret recipe. It was just, "Hey Dana, can I do this? Hey Coker, are you good with this?" And it just happened to work out. But I don't know how badly. It was an interesting spot where Dana was kind of pulling back on some older guys. And Coker was going, "No, those guys are still fun and they've got some life in them." It's kind of a conflict between the two organizations. So, yeah, I think it just timing-wise, it worked out for me. And, it doesn't hurt when people like you. I mean, that doesn't hurt to have a friend on the other end of the phone. But we were able to work that out pretty quickly. Yeah. Pretty quickly. Allowed for a good opportunity.
That's epic. I think that you had the USADA thing going on too, which certainly played into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I had just ran that out. I had the deal with a suspension, I think is what you're talking about, but I had just ran that out. And that was a tough one. I mean, that was a real tough one for me. I go before this commission in Nevada, and they bring in an expert witness. And the expert witness, and I had pled guilty. I went in there and said, "I'm not going to put up a defense. Go ahead and punish me."
Did I tell you or what? I mean, this guy just owns up to it, mans up.
But it was hard because I was being accused of legal appropriate medication. And they brought in an expert who comes in and says the word steroid 6 times. And so we kind of argued and go, "Hey, wait a minute, we're not here for and the commission didn't understand the difference. And we even had a commissioner say, "Are you putting up a defense?" Like, "Yes, if you charge us of bank robbery or murder, we're going to defend that too. We're not here for steroids. These are medications."
TRT.
That's right. TRT was one of them. Sure, but they actually banned TRT, so then there was like clomiphene and HCG, which is what you have to do if you come off of TRT. It was completely appropriate, and they had changed the rules. So we kind of go, "Okay, fine, we're going to fall down on this, but you're saying that we're in violation of something called WADA." And I said this to the room. I said, "You're a room of experts. Let me make this real simple. Tell me what city WADA's in, and I'll sit down and I won't say no. We're going by WADA rules. Tell me what city they're in." I go, "Let me make it easier. You tell me what state WADA's in. You're the experts about to punish me. You tell me what state WADA's in. I'll sit down and I'll take it on the chin." Got my final offer. Tell me what country WADA's from. And to this day, they haven't answered that question. And I do bring that up. It's very relevant. You tell me we're going to go off of a set of rules from an organization that nobody even knows what country they're in. They don't have a phone number. I can't call and see who's in charge, but I'm supposed to know what their rules are. That's a bunch of crap. And they said, "Yes, it's incumbent on you." So I'm the lowest form of society there is. I'm a cage fighter. I'm right down there with a prostitute and the guy that's selling booze. But that's how I'm to be looked at. You're the government. You're the government, and you can't tell me what city, state, or country they're in, but I'm supposed to know their rules? That's not right. And they said, "Well, don't you know that what you took is a performance enhancer?" I said, "Guys, let me be very clear. I would never take anything if I didn't have a reasonable expectation that it would enhance my performance. I'm not looking to go down. I'm only taking things that enhance." Performance enhancer, those are positive words.
Right.
Those aren't negatives. And then this guy comes in, he talks about steroids. It's like, I'm not here for steroids. No, I'm here for legal medications, not steroids. But I was jammed up, and they didn't understand the difference.
It's a really interesting point that you make, because I've thought that, like,